1 in 5 pensioner families who are entitled to help with their rent are not receiving it. That is the figure from the DWP's own research. 270,000 households missing out on an average of £3,700 a year. Over £1 billion left unclaimed every year by older people who either don't know this benefit exists for them, assume they won't qualify, or simply haven't been told they need to apply. The benefit is called housing benefit, and if you rent your home and you're over state pension age, I want you to stay with me for the next few minutes, because this video could be worth thousands of pounds to you. This channel is not affiliated with the DWP, HMRC, or any government body. Everything here is for education only and is not personal financial advice. Let me explain what housing benefit is, because the confusion starts right here. Most people think of housing benefit as a working age benefit, and for most of the population, that is now true. Working age renters who need help with rent claim universal credit instead of housing benefit. Housing benefit for working age claimants is being phased out. If you are over state pension age and you rent your home, housing benefit still exists as a separate entitlement. You cannot claim universal credit for your rent costs once you've reached state pension age. Housing benefit is the route for you, and you claim it through your local council, not through the DWP directly. This is the first thing that trips people up. Pensioners who contact the DWP for help with rent may be told housing benefit is no longer available. In some cases, that message reflects genuine confusion about who the change applies to. It does not apply to people over state pension age renting from a private landlord, a housing association, or a local authority. The entitlement remains. Now let's talk about who qualifies, and this is where the real surprises come. Housing benefit is means tested, which means it depends on your income and savings. But the thresholds for pensioners are significantly more generous than most people expect, and there are 2 completely different eligibility tracks depending on whether you receive pension credit. Track 1. You receive the guarantee credit element of pension credit. In this case, housing benefit treats your income and savings as essentially irrelevant. You receive the maximum housing benefit your eligible rent allows. This is because pension credit acts as a passport into full housing benefit. If your rent is within the applicable limits, it can be covered in full. That can be worth several £1,000s a year for social housing tenants, and significantly more for private renters in higher rent areas. If you're already receiving pension credit and you rent your home but haven't claimed housing benefit, you should claim it immediately. Those are 2 separate applications. The DWP processes pension credit, and your local council processes housing benefit. Getting one does not automatically trigger the other. You have to make both claims. And if you've been missing housing benefit for months or years while on pension credit, that is money that was available to you and wasn't paid. Track 2. You do not receive pension credit. You can still qualify for housing benefit if your income and savings are below certain levels. For pensioners, the savings rules are more generous than for working age claimants. If you have savings below £10,000, those savings are completely ignored in the housing benefit assessment. If you have savings between £10,000 and £16,000, a notional income is calculated at £1 per week for every £500 above £10,000. If your savings are above £16,000, you generally do not qualify for housing benefit unless you receive pension credit guarantee credit. In that case, the £16,000 savings limit is removed entirely. Your income is assessed against what's called the applicable amount, which is the government's figure for what you need to live on. For pensioners, this is broadly in line with the pension credit threshold. If your income is close to or below the pension credit standard minimum guarantee, which for 2026 to 2027 is £238 a week for a single person and £363.25 for a couple, you are likely to qualify for at least some housing benefit. For every pound of income you have above the applicable amount, housing benefit reduces by 65 pence. The tapering is gradual. You may qualify even if your income is somewhat above the pension credit threshold, particularly if you have high rent. And here is the part most people miss. Pensioners are exempt from the bedroom tax. If you are over state pension age and you live in social housing with one or more spare bedrooms, you will not have your housing benefit reduced for those spare rooms. The spare rooms subsidy removal, the policy that cuts housing benefit for working-age social tenants with more bedrooms than they need, does not apply to you. This matters enormously for pensioners who have been in the same family home for many years. A widow or widower in a 3-bedroom council house is not penalized for those additional rooms in the same way a working-age tenant would be. There is also an important rule about extra rooms for medical need. If you or your partner requires an extra bedroom for a medical reason, for example because a disability means you cannot share a bedroom, or because an overnight carer is needed, you may be entitled to an additional bedroom allowance. This must be declared when you apply, or it may not be counted in your favor. Now let's talk about the claim process, because this is where many eligible pensioners fall through the gap. If you are claiming pension credit, the simplest route is to mention your rent when you contact the pension service. You can then apply for housing benefit through your local council, and your pension credit award letter can be used to support that claim. The pension service number is 0800-991234, and calls are free. If you are not claiming pension credit and you want to apply for housing benefit directly, contact your local council. Most councils have a housing benefit section with an online claim form or a phone number. The process typically involves providing proof of identity, proof of income, details of your savings, and a copy of your tenancy agreement or proof of your rent. One important point on timing. Housing benefit can be backdated by up to 3 months, but only if you were eligible during that period. You do not need to give a special reason for the backdating if you are over state pension age. You can simply ask the council to backdate your claim by up to 3 months from the date you apply. If you think you have been eligible for housing benefit for longer than 3 months, it is worth speaking to a welfare advisor at Age UK or Citizens Advice, as in exceptional circumstances, further backdating may be possible. If you rent from a private landlord, the amount of housing benefit you can receive is capped by the local housing allowance rate for your area and bedroom size. This rate is set by the Valuation Office Agency and depends on your postcode and how many bedrooms you are entitled to. If your rent is above the local housing allowance rate, you pay the difference yourself. If your rent is at or below the rate, housing benefit can cover it in full, subject to your income assessment. The bedroom entitlement for private renters is 1 bedroom for each adult or couple, with additional allowances for children depending on their ages and genders. Pensioners are entitled to 1 bedroom regardless of their age, and exemptions exist for carers. For social housing tenants, housing benefit is based on your actual rent rather than the local housing allowance rate, and as noted, pensioners are exempt from the bedroom tax reduction. The final thing to know is that housing benefit is not a one-and-done claim. It continues week by week, usually reviewed annually. You must notify your council if your income, savings, or housing costs change. If your circumstances improve significantly, your housing benefit may reduce or stop. If they worsen, you may become eligible for more. Keeping the council informed is your responsibility, and delays in reporting can lead to overpayments that you may have to repay. So here are your action steps. Step 1. Check whether you rent your home and are over state pension age. If yes, housing benefit may apply to you. Step 2. If you are already receiving pension credit guarantee credit, and you have not claimed housing benefits separately, contact your local council today and ask about housing benefit. Your pension credit award is essentially a passport to full housing benefit, and you do not need to go through a separate income assessment. Step 3. If you are not receiving pension credit, check your eligibility. Use the free benefits calculator at entitled.co.uk or turn to us.org.uk to get an estimate based on your income, savings, and rent. These tools are free, anonymous, and take about 5 minutes. Step 4. Once you have an estimate, contact your local council's housing benefit team to make a formal claim. Ask them to backdate it by up to 3 months. Step 5. If the process feels complicated, Age UK has a free advice line on 0800 678 1602, open 8 in the morning to 7 in the evening, 365 days a year. A real person will help you work out what you're owed. 270,000 pensioner households are missing this. The average they're missing is £3,700 a year. Check whether you are one of them. And in the next video, we're going to look at the one benefit that overlaps with almost everything else in this series, the benefit that could push you into pension credit eligibility, even if you thought you were just above the threshold, and that most people in their 60s have never heard of. That is coming up next.